G'day Trailblazers, my name is Cam, and for today's video I'm going to take you through a really common use case in Marketing Cloud, and that is how to get a list of all the subscribers that were sent an email in Journey Builder. So let's say that we're in Marketing Cloud and we've built up a journey, and we've accidentally triggered that journey or sent it live by mistake, and it's gone out to a few subscribers that it probably shouldn't have, and we now have to try and figure out who it was sent to. Well, I've done that for myself earlier on. I've made my new journey here. I activated this journey and it went out to 3 subscribers. And now I want to try and find out who those subscribers are. This could have been a data extension activity, could have been an API, or even a Salesforce data event activity. For this example though, we're going to pretend that the data extension that we sent to doesn't exist. So we can't just go into our data extensions and find the records for ourselves. We have to use another method to try and find out who the subscribers were that we sent the email to. Now first and foremost, I can jump into my Journey Builder. I can go into my activity here and I can see it was sent to 3 records. What I can do is I can click on this little grey box here, click on those 3 records and go down to the View Contact Details. Now straight away I've got this little window here. I can see there were 3 successful sends, no soft and no hard errors. What I can do, I can change my view to go back to just the last 24 hours or even the whole last 30 days, and then choose my View Details in the summary. And by doing this, I can see all the records that were sent within that time period. And straight away I can see, here are my 3 subscribers that were sent this email recently. Now, unfortunately, all I've got, of course, is the contact key for those 3 records. Now, if I was trying to find a particular record, I could jump into my search contact key here and I could search for that record individually, but this is not really a full list of all the subscribers that I may want to go and triage. I may also want their email address or some more details along with it. So for that, I'll have to use another part of the Marketing Cloud platform to find out who it was sent to and the additional data that was used to send to them. So now I've jumped into Email Studio and I can show you the second way we can pull a list of all the subscribers that were sent an email in Journey Builder. I can jump up into my tracking menu here and go to my Send. In my Send window, I'll navigate down into my Journey Builder sends on the left-hand side, then down into my journey, my new 14 March journey. Version 1, of course, was the production send that I had, and straight away I can see there is my completed 3 sends. Now what I can do is I can jump into this activity by clicking on the blue text. And by doing this, I'm going to open up the stats for that email send. I'll see all the sends, all the clicks, all the opens, all those usual tracking assets for the email. I can see here my 3 sends that took place today. And one of the things I can do is within this window of time, I can go into my total sends and click on that blue link. That blue link takes me through to the send window. It shows me all the records who were sent this communication. Now straight away I've got a lot more detail, including the subscriber key, email address, and the send date for that record as well. And of course what we can use is the Export All button. I can press Export All and then choose which actions I want to take. I want to take these 3 attributes, so I'll add them all in. Now I could choose, if it's a very small list, I could choose to just email that list to myself. But of course if this has been running for a while, I want to try and find maybe a couple of 100 or 1,000 records, I may have to export to the FTP. And if I don't choose these tick boxes, it'll export to FTP. So I can press on the export button just like that. So I'm going to go ahead now and export that data for me. Now once it goes from the in queuing to processing and complete, we'll get a nice little message here which tells us the file has been exported into the exports folder of our Marketing Cloud FTP. And there it is there. You may retrieve your export file in your FTP directory. So we can navigate using our FTP client, such as FileZilla or WinSCP, and we can jump into our Marketing Cloud folder and we can find our new export, which of course will be a CSV file, which we can use to find all those records the email was sent to. Let's now pretend that we need some more information before we can retarget those subscribers who were sent the communication erroneously. Let's say that perhaps the Journey Builder information, we needed more look back than just 30 days. And perhaps the triggered send view that we use also didn't have all the information that we wanted to then retarget those subscribers. So what's the third option? To go into Marketing Cloud and get the full list of all subscribers who were sent that email in that journey. Well, lucky for us, we do have our Salesforce Marketing Cloud data views. So I have here my Marketing Cloud data view diagram on dbdiagram.io. I'll put a link to this in the description below. You can see if we zoom in here that in all of our data diagrams, we have a few really useful table views. First and foremost, of course, is going to be our sent view, the list of every single communication that's been sent in Marketing Cloud. Now straight away, we have of course our subscriber key record, which we're going to need to know to find which subscribers were sent that email. The useful thing though, is we can actually link it down with our triggered send definition ID. That's going to link all the way down here into our journey activity to find the activity name related to that journey and that version ID of that journey. So we can use some SQL in Automation Studio to go into our sent data view and return back the subscribers that we sent the email to. If we have to get their email address, we can also use that subscriber key to match back from our sent table, matching on subscriber key all the way back to our subscribers table on subscriber key to return back the email address. So let's give that a try. So first thing we have to do is jump into our data extensions and make a target data extension to save our new data into. So first thing I'll do is I'll go create and create myself a brand new standard data extension. I'll go OK. I'll call this one my journey sends. I'll go next. Now for our journey sends, we're going to want to have the same data fields as our sendable send data view. So if I jump into my data views, I'll go into my sent table and I can see straight away subscriber key. I'll definitely want that. I'll probably want the job ID, and I'll probably include the triggered send definition and maybe the event date there as well. So let's type all those out. I'll get my subscriber key from my sent table. There it is there, subscriber key. Subscriber key, of course, being nice and long. Nullable, of course. What else do I need? I'm probably going to want that job ID, so I'll grab job ID. That's of course a numeric field. Double check that. Job ID, yes, it's a number field. There it is there. I'll want the event date, the date to which the send took place. That's of course a date time field. So event, and I'll do a date field. Nullable, of course. And finally, let's bring in that trigger ID. So I think it was down here, the triggered send definition object ID. Let's bring that in as well, just for good measure. All right, all nullable. That's looking pretty good. Let's go create on that data extension. So with the data extension created, let's now go and make ourselves some SQL. Jump into Automation Studio, and for good measure, we'll go brand new automation. Make this one a scheduled activity, and I'll call this one my journey sends. Go done. Now, of course, we're going to make ourselves a brand new SQL query. So I'll drag and drop that in, and I'll go choose to make a new query activity. Now this one, we'll call this one also our journey sends. I'll go next. Now, what do we have to populate? Well, quick trick. We can jump into our data extensions and find where we saved our data extension, which of course we saved it into our public demos journey sent emails. All right, so public demos journey sent emails. Journey sends, I can drag and drop that directly into my SQL query here, and there are all the fields I need to populate. There we go, it makes it nice and easy for me. So for some SQL, we're going to type in, we're going to select what? Well, select our subscriber key, job ID, event, date, and our triggered send definition object ID from, and of course where from? Well, our data view of underscore sent. So we'll go from underscore send. Easy as that. Now we'll go validate syntax, and we're looking good, so I'll go next. We'll of course choose to overwrite, and we'll navigate through to our data extension in our journey sends. There it is, just made by me with 4 fields. Overwrite, next, and done. There is our SQL. So let's now save this activity, and we'll run once. Running that SQL, run and run. Now let's have a look for ourselves and see if we have those records coming through. So I'll refresh this automation. Hopefully any second now, we'll see our automation kicks off, and we'll see which records have been sent an email. Perfect. So the SQL query has just finished. I can see now it completed successfully. So I'll jump back into my data extension view here. I can see for myself if I refresh my window, I should have some records in my data extension. We do in fact have 16 records that came through from that query. Now just a quick refresher, that query was selecting all records from our sent table. I've only got 16 records that were sent. Of course, if you do this with your own production instance, you may have many more records than 16. So maybe don't run it just yet, and I'll show you why. If I jump into my journey send SQL result here, have a look at my 16 rows, I can straight away see that there's quite a few sends and subscriber keys that took place. Now, if I know exactly when the error took place, I could use the event date to listen to all the records that were sent an email during a certain date. But if I have tens or maybe hundreds of journeys running, that'll be pretty hard to narrow down exactly who was sent that particular email. So I'll show you one more trick. You see here this triggered send definition field. There are a couple of different values here. But if you look carefully, you'll see there's one here which has C557. That's important. If I jump back into that send track reporting that I had earlier in my new journey here, 14th of March version 1, if I hover over that activity and have a look in the bottom left-hand corner of my browser, I can see the job ID that comes through on that link is C557, which funnily enough is exactly the same triggered send definition as I've got here. So what I can do is I can right-click on that link and I can inspect that link, and there's the text right there for me. So I can copy, if I open this up, I can copy that GUID or that send ID, and that's going to be that triggered send object definition ID. So that copied, I can now go back into my SQL and make some changes. So I'll edit those changes, and I'll go edit, and I'll say from my sent table where my triggered send definition object ID is equal to that text. So I'll paste the text and say where triggered send is equal to that. And that's going to give exactly the right journey. So I'll check it out. Valid syntax, perfect. I'll go next. I'll choose overwrite, and let's rerun this activity. I'll go save, run once, and choose to rerun my journey send SQL. Run and run. So while that warms up, we should see in a second, we'll no longer have all 16 records showing on this data extension. We will in fact only have the emails that were sent to that particular email. So we'll go back now, we'll just refresh it one more time, and hopefully it starts to run any second now. Okay, and the SQL has just finished running. We can see here that it's completed successfully. So we'll jump back into our data extensions. We did have 16. Let's go back and check it out now by refreshing our folder. And now there's just 3, so those are 3 records that we were trying to find earlier. That's all good and well, but what happens if we actually have a lot more than just a few records? What about if we had something like 6 months worth of sends built up in this journey? What if it had been running for a long time? Now, of course, the sent data view does go back up to 180 days. So we may have had hundreds or even thousands of records come back, and we just want the few most recent records. Don't forget that we can always export this data. We can only export the data to an email if it's below 20 megabytes. Anything larger, we'll have to use the FTP export. So for a browser download, it has to be a very small file. So perhaps we have to add one more condition to only showcase the records that have been affected by the recent error, things that occurred more recently. So for that, we can probably use our EventDate function here. So we can jump back into our Automation Studio and back into our SQL. Let's modify one more thing. This time, we're going to be using our EventDate. Now what we can do, in our where clause, we've already got our where clause for the triggered send definition object ID is equal to the email in question, but we can also say, and the event date that we're trying to look at is going to occur within a certain date range as well. So first thing we can do is we can jump in and say where the event date is going to be greater than, let's say today minus 7 days. In the last 7 days this error occurred, let's only return back emails that were affected in the last 7 days. So we'll say we're going to do a date add function. So we're going to date add, and date add has 3 components. The type of day or date function to add, we're going to be adding some days. How many days are we adding? Well, we're going to be adding -7 days to today's date, which in SQL is the getDate function. So quite simply reading, we're saying that we are going to get today's date, and we're going to subtract 7 days from it. Simple as that. So we'll try it out, validate syntax, and we're looking good. So we'll now go next, and once again overwrite back into our main data extension, next and finish. With that all done, let's go save, and we can choose to rerun that activity once more. So I'll choose run once and then choose my activities, run and run. Let's see what happens now and make sure we still get those 3 records because I did send this email pretty recently, so it should come back with these 3 records once more. Okay, so my activity is running and hopefully it's come through as complete. Refresh it and check it out, and yes, it has completed. So we'll jump back into our data extensions, back into our folder, refreshing our folder, and perfect, we still have 3 records coming through, looking good. There's one last thing we could do here to make ourselves have a much easier time trying to retarget these subscribers. Notice that we do have subscriber key, job ID, event date, and of course that triggered send definition ID. What we don't have though is the email address for our subscribers. And of course we don't, because the data view for it does not actually contain email address. We zoom back in here, back into our send table. There is no email address we can choose here. What we could do though is we could choose to match this sent table on subscriber key back onto our underscore subscribers table to retrieve that subscriber key. So as long as you don't have any contact deletion functions or clean up your data for a while, you should still have all the subscribers that were sent that email logged in your subscribers file. So let's go try that out for ourselves by jumping back into SQL, and we'll try and match up onto our subscriber table. Back in our workflow, let's choose now to edit the SQL once more. We'll choose edit and edit. Now what we have to do is make sure that we actually have a field to put our email address into, and for that, I have to jump back into our data extension first and add the new email address field. So back into our data extension, we have our records here. Let's edit our fields and add a brand new one in. I'll call this one email address. I'll make sure it's an email field, of course, and nullable just in case, and I'll go save on those fields. With email address field saving, I can jump back into my SQL. Let's add that field in here as well with comma email address. So now we have an email address field. Where's it going to come from? Well, these all came from the sent table. Now the sent table, I should also mention, I should now give an alias to. Let's say S for sent. So now it's going to be our sent table.subscriber key, our sent table.job ID, event, and trigger. But what about the email address? That's going to be our all subscribers, our main subscriber table. So I'm going to call that one A. And for that, I would have to do a join function as well. So from our sent table, we are going to left join in our underscore subscribers table. So you can see here from our subscribers table, it's underscore subscribers. And of course, email address is the field we're trying to get, using subscriber key as our matching field. So given subscriber key matches on subscriber key, back in our SQL, we can say join on subscribers on the subscriber table, of course, being called A, on A dot subscriber key will be equal to the sent table dot subscriber key. Easy as that. It literally creates that same bridge here, this blue text between our sent table. There's our blue highlight there. You can see it moving here from subscriber key all the way up into our subscriber key here. So it's doing that match for us. Subscriber key matches to subscriber key. So we have that one built in, which means we can now get back our alias table of A in the subscribers table, returning back our email address. Easy as that. So we'll try it out by going validate, and of course we are looking good. So we'll go next. Of course, keeping our data extension and overwrite. Next and finish. That's all done. Go back to our data extension, make sure it has email address in there. It absolutely does, so we're ready to go. So we'll save our automation and choose to run once that activity. What we should now see, of course, is that email address field being populated. I'll go run now, and as that kicks off, I'll jump back into my view of those records. You can see for yourself our current records do not have an email address. So back in Automation Studio, and we can see that our automation has just finished. And once again, we should now be able to go back into our data extensions, go back into my folder and refresh it. Hopefully, yep, still 3 records. We'll check our journey records and back into our details view. And hopefully we now find, indeed we do, we actually now have the email address showing for all 3 of those subscribers. So with that complete, we should now have enough information to retarget them or to export this data and use it elsewhere. So I can go to my export function and choose to export this data, choosing to browser download. Choose browser download as a CSV, and I can go export. And now I should be able to download, because the file is small enough, all those files. And perfect, done. So there is one more way that you can find out what subscribers were sent an email in Journey Builder, and that is using the send log data extension function. Now unfortunately, this option, unlike the other ones, is not retrospective. So you can't do this unless you've set it up already, which means that unless you've had your send log activated before your send, then you won't be able to use this option. But let's pretend that you do have your send log activated in your account. You may of course have a lot more than 28 records in your send log. What you can do though, is you can go into your send log and you can choose to filter that data extension. By filtering it, of course, we can then go through all those tens or even hundreds of thousands of records and find which subscribers were sent in the affected job. What of course we can do is we can go by that triggered send ID, drag and drop that in, and of course we'll pick up that same triggered send job ID as before. So we'll jump back into this code and we can copy that text. Go copy, go into our triggered send and say where the triggered send ID is equal to that text. I'll go save and build. I'll set this one as my send filter. I'll save that into the same folder, so it's all nice and organized. And save. Let's rebuild that data extension and see what comes through. The good thing about this option is if you do have your send log turned on, then you of course will have not just the subscriber key and the send ID, but also their email address, the email address that they were sent during that send process. So we'll just wait for this one to finish and we'll see if all 3 records come through. And perfect, right on time they have. I'll check out for myself in my records tab. There they are, all 3 records with not just the subscriber key, but also the email address. And there you have it. There is a handful of ways that you can use Marketing Cloud to find out which records were sent an email in Journey Builder. Now I hope you don't have a situation where you have to use this, but of course if you do, then I'm glad you found this video and I hope you found it useful. If you have, then please give a big thumbs up and let me know you enjoyed it in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel so that you are notified when I release more Salesforce Marketing Cloud content.